This voiceover PowerPoint is an overview of elderly population. It's part two of the presentation I made to the Humboldt General Hospital Board of Directors in October of 2015. This part of the presentation will look at the impacts of retiree populations on the economy, look at future estimations of retiree population, and how healthcare plays an important part in this segment. Aging of the population is something not only with national, it is international. The world is getting older. In 1950, 5% of the people in the world were 65 years or older, and by 2012, it's grown to 8%. And in some of our areas, it's even more so of an increase in the elderly population. If you look at this PowerPoint, this is something that came from Bloomberg magazine. You will see that they look at 1950, 1982, and projections to 2012, looking at the percent of population that's going to be 65 years and older. If you look at the bottom, Japan, they're forecasting about 25% of the population in Japan 65 years and older. And if you read about Japan's economy, they're worried about this because of the labor force is retiring and labor force participation. Who's to come in for those people are being retired? I remember I went to a Federal Reserve presentation in San Francisco. Alan Greenspan made the statement that the worry he had on the economy was that the home team was retiring and there's nobody on the bench. Look here also for Italy and Germany, our two opponents in World War II in the 20s. And so this aging of national economies is something that are impacting the economic development. Some people even have said our problem of coming out of the Great Recession is that we have an older workforce. That may be, but this is something to consider. Now, you can see what Thailand, it's kind of interesting. Thailand has a growing elderly population, even though China has changed that one baby per family. And then South Korea has really increased, and its increase has gone from poverty to riches over 50 years, but the number of percentage of the population of 65 years or older has increased. But what I wanted to do is show you that this is a international phenomenon, not only nationally, but internationally. The next PowerPoint is looking at the percentage of total 2014 and 2012 and 14 population by the nation, state, and by Nevada counties. This is only a 2-year period, but it's kind of interesting how rapid things are going. In the U.S., 13.7% of the total population in 2012 was 65 years and older. It grew to 14.5%. In Nevada, it was 13.1%, and in the end of 2 years, it's 14.2%, showing that the population is getting older. And as you take a look here, you can see different counties how the population. Now, in Humboldt County, only 10% of the population is 65 years and older, and in 2014, only 10.6%. This is characteristic of many of the mining counties that have mining operations. This is a young man's operation. But if some of the mines play out, you'll see a gentrification of that area. One of the interesting places where people retire is Douglas County or Lake Tahoe. In 2012, 22% of its population was 65 years and older, and it grew to 24.5%, almost a quarter. This is a different type of population. They have different demands as opposed to young married couples. When you get older, you're using much more medical facilities, and if you have these medical facilities, you can capture those dollars. Same thing for Humboldt County. This next PowerPoint is a table that looks at trends of population. First column looks at overall population change from 2012 to 14. The state of Nevada grew at 3% versus the U.S. at 1.5%. Nevada is still a fast-growing state in population, even though the Great Recession really impacted us. Humboldt County grew at 1%. But you look at these other counties, some had negative growth rates, and Clarksville grew pretty well. Now, what's kind of interesting is look at information from 2012 to 14, people who are 65 years and older, looking at that percentage change. In the United States, Overall population grew at 1.5, but the 65 years or older grew at 7.3%. In Nevada, 3. Overall for the state, people 65 years and older is 11. You can see that we're getting increasingly older. Humboldt County, 1%. Well, all of a sudden, 5.2% of its population at 65 years and older is growing. And this is something I know Humboldt General Hospital has done some things to meet the demands of the elderly population. It's a growing market. Douglas County here, 1.6%, but look at the population between 2012 and 14. So what we have here is a cohort of the population that has different demands, and one of those demands is healthcare. Now here's the percentage change of population, percentage change of it by county of total state population. In other words, you had the state that grew. What percent did each one play? Well, it probably has no surprising one. Almost 85% of the total state population occurred in Clark County. One man, one vote. And you see how powerful Clark County is. Humboldt County, only about 0.21%, 13% here for Washoe County. But of the older people, of the people who are 65 years and older, Clark County had 71% of those. Well, we rounded off to 72. Clark County is a warm area where people like to retire. Humboldt, 0.22 of 1%. Other areas are growing. Douglas, overall population, 0.65. There is 0.2, almost 3. As you can see, they're making bigger percentages. But anyway, the quick analysis is here, is that the population of the state and in its counties are getting older. Opportunities for health care for the local healthcare sector and hospital. Now, this is information I got from the state of Nevada demographer's office, where he did projections. He had estimations of population 65 years and older for 2012 and 14, and estimations in 2030. Again, as you see, at aging of the population, almost 20% of the U.S. population 65 years and older, 18% for the state. In Humboldt County, it's gone from 10.6 to 19, almost a doubling of that percentage. So as the area grows, ages, so will Humboldt County. Douglas County, interesting, 25%, almost a third of its population is going to be 65 years and older. For economic development, this is an area where you have different demands, different needs. People don't have demands here, and they're mainly healthcare demands. Think of it. 20 or 30 years ago, you did not have wealth advisors for people 401ks. Now you do, and also for this different house. So you can see how the economy changes to meet this change in cohort. I think this is very interesting. This is for households, Nevada households, age 65 years and older, and by income by quintiles. The lowest quintile makes about $9,000. Almost all of its earnings is from Social Security. Goes up to the fourth quintile of $50,000, and it jumps to the highest. The fifth quintile is about, on average, about $124,000. Look at that. But you also look at the difference in its assets or its portfolio. Assets, pensions, Social Security, earnings, all these different things that they would have. Different type of economy. These are investors. Who are they? And I will say different parts of the different counties have different proportionalities of these folks. Now here's something that came from Alabama Cooperative Extension, which is University of Auburn. What's some interesting economic characteristics of people 55 years and older? Why attract retirees? Have about 77% of the nation's personal financial assets. When you're very young, it's hard to accumulate assets. These people do. 80% of the nation's saving accounts are with people in this age. 68% of the money markets, 50% of old corporate stocks, 77% own their own home. And so they also like to locate in areas with amenities. This is where Humboldt County and Nevada really have an advantage. People like to retire here because of the mountains. And they have steady incomes. They are vulnerable to quantitative easing when interest rates go up and then they go way down. But they don't go up and down like the mining counties do. Interesting here is I think also something that economists need to be aware of, is that the people at 55 have a lot of these personal assets. When they die, there's going to be a tremendous transference of wealth from one generation to the other. What will that look like? That's going to be an interesting economic question when that occurs. Benefits from retirees. This came from the University of Arkansas. That's the land grant, which is the extension office. Benefits of attracting retirees. You got new jobs to meet demands of goods and services. They have different demands. You have elderly housing, you have dementia housing, those kinds. Some retiree houses build new homes. They build new homes, but the homes are built are a little different. Instead of these big mansions, they need hallways they can get walkers through, all that kind of stuff. So there's different demands. Retirees stabilize the business cycle, yes. Retirees increase state and local revenues because they usually buy more goods and services or have sales taxes. They enhance the local tax base because they have property values. They increase the local capital pool. That's very important. How they employ that, how local economies can get them to employ those capital pools. They have experience. If they want to go back to work, you have an experienced and committed workforce. They're very knowledgeable and very committed. They're a clean industry, and they can diversify your local economy. Disadvantages. This came from Auburn University, the Alabama Cooperative Extension, is lack of support by retirees of increased taxes to support schools. And I think it really deals with some retirees may outlive their health coverage and savings. If you talk to many of the people who are retirees, they are scared to death that they're going to run out of money before they die, or don't have substantial amounts of money to transfer to their kids. This is tied to this, but elderly people need to be aware. They need to have a good school support. You need people, young people are educated because they pay FICA, which is Social Security, which supports them. They are linked to young people. This is why I always try to tell them that they're linked. But this right here is something that they're very scared of. Retirees may bring ideas from other states. This is how we did things in California. Well, that doesn't go over that well, but that is something you can listen. Maybe there are things that they have that would be advantageous. So that's the end of part 2 of the presentation I made to Humboldt General Hospital. I hope it gave you a good overview of the trends in elderly populations, the uniqueness internationally and nationally, some of the economic impacts that elderly may have, and some of the opportunities elderly populations have for the healthcare and hospitals of your local community. Thank you.